basically we're going to start kind of with strategies for finding a theme, for deciding what theme is going to be best for you to start with. And maybe if you're lucky it'll be everything you need and you don't have to do anything else. But oftentimes you will need to do a little tweaking to make it a little bit different or add a little bit something to it. And so we're going to talk about the tweaking and what that takes and what you have to do to kind of get started there. We're not going to show you everything on that, but we do have an ebook that's associated with this presentation that goes into a lot more technical detail. So we're just going to sort of tip the surface, kind of get your brain warmed up, and if you're interested in going farther, then the ebook will take you a little farther. Far enough that then you can kind of maybe take off on your own. Okay? Yes?
One thing, you had the WordPress thing last month. Is that the same ebook or is this different?
This will be a different ebook this week. Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay, our targets for today are obviously what are themes, so we'll introduce you to the idea of themes and exactly what that means. There are so many things, how do I choose? We'll look at strategies for going through all of that stuff and figuring out which one's going to be the best for you. What can go wrong when choosing a theme? Obviously, you know, there's always a downside to everything, and we'll talk a little bit about those downsides. A word to the wise is sufficient, they say, so hopefully we'll give you some tips on what to look out for. We'll go through very basically how a theme works. That'll kind of help you understand what's going on. And if you understand what's going on, then when something goes wrong, you'll have a better understanding how to fix it. And then we'll get into a little more geeky stuff right at the end about basic tweaks you can do to your theme. And of course, touch upon that big phrase like you said, Dave, how much work is this? After we get through, you'll kind of understand that answer to that question just as the process of going through it. WordPress themes. WordPress is a website building application system. It uses templates, what's called a template processor. It takes those templates and processes them and sticks in the custom stuff as it goes by. It's kind of like a conveyor belt, and it sticks in the extras as it goes by. And then uses style sheets to present that. You got to understand it in the web world, there's two pieces. There's the content, that's the hard code that's coming across the wire that has the tags, the titles, the text for your stuff and your images. Then you have what's called a style sheet. And that is a separate document that takes all that and rearranges it and makes it look pretty and puts images and spaces and margins and basically lays it all out. You can, in theory, take the exact same content and make it look totally different. If you go to a site called Zen Gardens, I'll look that up, and what that person has done there is they've taken the exact same content and styled it in many different ways. So it's really interesting how incredibly different you can make a site look just by using the style sheet. That's not touching the content at all. It's totally style sheet. That's a good illustration of how powerful style sheets are. So basically you can take any type of basic layout and turn it into many different looks. And that is very powerful in this kind of a system. So that means you don't have to go in and actually touch the code. Just touch the styles.
ZenGardens.com.
I'm not sure it's .com, it may be .org, but it's Zen Gardens. Just go to Google and say Zen Gardens, and it should get you there. The guy who sponsors that has written many books on web standards and CSS style sheets. So I can't remember his name now. Blanks me out. But anyway, he's like he's been on the CSS World Wide Web Consortium committees helping develop the standards. He's really big in it. So he's really the expert's expert. Okay. Choosing a theme. As of about a week ago, there were 1,609 themes. That's a lot of themes on the WordPress site. Now, there are a lot of commercial themes too, so I would say there's probably several thousand out there. And we're going to talk about what the characteristics of good and bad themes, things to kind of watch out for, things that you need to understand that make a theme really good and useful, aside from the fact that it's pretty and you like it. So One of the features obviously is that you like it, but you can get in trouble with just stopping right there. So we're going to talk about that, and then we'll talk about some things that help you spot a problem. Finding the right theme. The first thing you have to do before you even go on the web is you have to decide what you're doing. You have to decide what it is that you are looking for. What's your target market? Who's your customer? What do they want to see? So you have to decide whether it's a blog or website, whether you want built-in SEO, which is a question, default plugins in your theme, does it support widgets and tags? Is there support for your theme? Are you going to depend on the theme as is, or are you going to tweak it to the point where you're going to take responsibility for the code? So you're going to need to look at that, and then you've got to decide whether you're going to get into your theme and do some techie stuff. Some themes don't allow that, or make it very difficult. Other themes make it very easy to do that. So you don't want to have this theme and then suddenly discover that you can't do anything. It won't let you. And that would be very frustrating. Put all this work, get all set up. Okay, now I want to, oops, no, you can't do it. It's kind of like going to work on your car. You lift the hood and you want to change your spark plug and you discover you can't find your spark plugs. That's what happens to me now. I used to work on engines as a kid, and now I lift the hood and I go, yeah, right. Good luck on that. So that's basically what happens. After a while, you end up with a car you can't even work on, you know. So the same thing happens to WordPress themes. Why did I do that? Hit the wrong button. Okay, what I've done and what you're going to find in a lot of these best themes, best WordPress theme sites is they divide them up into categories. And I think it's a very good way of kind of focusing your search so that you're looking at a category that is meaningful to you. So we have also what are called responsive themes. One of the people here a while ago was asking about a theme that would make the website look mobile friendly on the phone. Okay, that would be a responsive theme. So if you wanted your website to be mobile friendly, the buzzword that you're looking for when you're searching is responsive theme. It's going to respond to the media that's coming to it to look at your website. Then you have portfolio themes. These are things that are geared to displaying images and artwork and things visual. So the theme is geared and has a lot of extra goodies for doing images and stuff. Then you have what are called magazine themes that are very content oriented. That speaks for itself. Business themes, where they specialize on more of a professional look and professional features that a doctor's office or a lawyer or something like that might need. Then you have e-commerce themes where you have some built-in shopping functionality, built right into the system. BuddyPress themes are ones that are oriented towards social media. Then a few others, you have theme frameworks. This requires you to be a little more techie because these are frameworks for doing developer work. So if you really want to get into doing your own custom type stuff, these theme frameworks might be useful for you. HTML5 themes. What we have now coming up in the years to come, yes?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the previous slide. For example, e-commerce themes or BuddyPress themes. Can you give examples of how that theme has some functionality? What kind of functionality? What is in the architecture?
Well, what they've done is they've added some plugins that give you some shopping cart functionality. They've mixed plugins with the theme, and they've altered the theme so it presents their products a little better. Whereas BuddyPress, they also added plugins, social media plugins, right into the theme.
So if you post to it, it automatically posts to your Facebook or something like that?
A whole bunch of stuff that's kind of happening automatically. You could duplicate that yourself by getting any basic thing that comes with WordPress and adding the plugins. These themes are geared toward sort of automating it for you and just sort of load the theme and there you go. All the plugins are already there. So it's kind of a shortcut type thing.
Right.
And why do you call it e-commerce?
E-commerce, that's just sort of the term. It's called electronic commerce. E-commerce is electronic commerce, online commerce. Shopping carts, just think shopping carts. So that's the term. the common term. Or at least. And then there are HTML5 themes. That's what I was talking about. HTML5 is the new HTML spec that's coming out, and the goal of HTML5 is basically ultimately getting rid of all these plugins that we have, like Flash, applets, all of that stuff, so that you can actually display images and videos right there in the native HTML code. Ultimately what that means is the user experience is going to improve, because you won't get stopped with, got to download Flash to see this video and things like that. So ultimately, the goal of the consortium, the W3C consortium, is to change the code such that your browser, if your browser supports HTML5, you won't need any plugins. Everything's going to be there.
Basically, you can just Google that, right?
Yeah, you can Google HTML5. And these are themes
if it
that are...
supports your thing, or if it supports your thing, not thing, but
HTML5, right?
So in other words,
Well,
what you're saying is if you have a Flash, which I have one website with Flash, I can replace it with,
Yeah, eventually it'll be able, what you will do, instead of uploading a SWF file, you'll upload an MP3 file. MP4 for the video. And that will be a universal plugin that's built right into the HTML, will then display it.
okay.
And this type of theme would be able to handle that for you. This would be designed to handle that. Okay? And you're going to see this space growing, and it's going to be kind of spreading into the other groups as you go. The reason I made it a separate group here was to emphasize it. Now, some of these are e-commerce themes. I mean, this is kind of a catch-all techie kind of thing. That's why it's on the second page under the heading of other theme types, because these are kind of general ideas. Same thing with vertical market themes. There are people out there that specialize in real estate themes or sales type things, online sales. In other words, they specialize in a vertical market kind of idea, so that when you go in, boom, you've got everything you need right there. And they're geared for your needs. Okay, themes and SEO. In the past 3 years or so, one of the common trends now is to integrate into a lot of themes SEO functions. This sounded like a great idea, to have it all built in for you. Unfortunately, it's coming with all the changes with Google, Panda, and Penguin, and all of the changes that's going on with Google. This has turned out to be a bad idea. A good idea that really is a bad idea. Because what's happening is, you install this theme that is geared toward handling SEO today. 2 months from now, Google changes the rules. What happened? Do you think your theme builder is going to send you out a new theme? No. No, you're stuck with the wrong kind of SEO. So now the thinking has evolved and changed where, no, you don't want SEO built into your theme. Instead, you want your theme to do what it's supposed to do, be a theme. And then you go get best of breed SEO tools where you have the vendors that are supporting the latest SEO changes so that you can upgrade your SEO as you go along without affecting your website. So the recommendation now is to separate the two, theme, SEO, and keep them separate so that you can migrate the two separately and not have them clashing.
Is MSN and Bing the same way, or is Google just like going crazy on all their rules? Are they kind of like Apple? You know what I mean?
I think they're all going to be doing that. See,
as of right now, they're not like that though. I think to advertise on MSN and Bing is a lot easier. It's much easier than to advertise on Google because they have so many more rules.
that's why, because when you're bigger and you have more people hitting you, guess what? You have to have more rules.
Sure, I got you. Okay. And that's my
Because
question.
more people are going to be taking advantage of you.
Sure.
So you have to, see what happened is Google went along and they had fairly simple rules. And people started taking advantage of them. And after a while, the search results didn't really relate to what you were looking for, because they were being corrupted and subverted. to a particular marketing person out there who was able to stuff the links and do this and do that, and suddenly the results on page one no longer reflected what Google wanted. So Google basically found itself in trouble. If it had stayed where it was about 3 years ago, it probably wouldn't be hardly in business right now. It would have just, it would have just fallen under the weight of everybody corrupting their search results. They had to do it for their own survival. Now, it doesn't mean I agree with how they did it, but they had no choice. They had to do something.
Sure.
They had to get rid of the spammers. They had to get rid of the link stuffers. They had to do all that. And guess what? When you do that, you have to change the rules.
It seems like it's coming back, because it seems like when you're rated like on the top, you can pull up any kind of website, build anything, and you're automatically stuck at the top with that website because you have the same name. You're already branded at the top slot. You know what I mean? You don't have to work your way from the bottom all the way up. Is that true?
Not necessarily, but they're changing the rules constantly. Their big push is to get rid of spam sites and link stuffing sites, and they're basically trying to get rid of all the black hat SEO. Yes?
Actually trying to drive people towards Google ads.
Well,
Over 90% of the revenue comes from Google ads.
oh yeah, hey, they're a business.
Yep.
I mean, if you were Google, wouldn't you?
Sure.
Okay.
But it's good to know that, because you have to know what you're up against.
Yeah. Yeah, they're, you know, Google's a business. They're not, you think they're providing this for free, but they're not. You're not even their customer. Their customer is their advertisers. Same thing with Facebook. That's why Facebook's going through all its crazy changes now, because they have to cater to their advertisers, not you.
The big guys.
Yeah, you're just
Nothing like.
yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
you're like a piece of meat in the hamburger, you know.
Well, thanks a lot.
They gotta have
An
the
old white
hamburger.
rag.
They gotta have the
Makes it sound
hamburger,
like
so
Yeah.
they make it just attractive enough for you to come.
Suck me dry. I didn't know exactly what you mean.
I'm medium rare.
So, what themes should be though is what we call SEO friendly. Basically, they should have proper structure, semantics, and must follow the web standards. Okay? That's a whole other talk, so we won't even get into what web standard is, because I do a presentation on web standards, so if you're interested, I do that. But that's what you want, is you want the word SEO friendly. You want to hear that word. Yes.
You probably stated in the beginning and I missed it, but what does SEO stand
Search
for?
engine optimization.
Search engine optimization. Thank you.
No, and I didn't, I assumed you knew it, and I apologize.
He's an accountant.
Yeah, that's all right. And it's good you raised your hand and said, what in the hell are you talking about?
And actually,
That's
SEO itself is sort of getting changed a little bit,
Well, that's what I was saying, the reason why you have to separate.
and even maybe a slightly different name for it.
Yeah, actually, Google would like SEO kind of disappear.
Right.
Instead, they want you to be web strategists. They've out and out said they want SEO people to no longer be SEO, they want them to be web strategists. So it's a broader picture of helping people on the web. Okay, you can respond. You're not going to respond. My battery dead.
You know, I came across a website or a link last week from a guy that I talked to, and he basically had a lot of problems asking questions about what to do on the internet because it's foreign to them. They don't know what you're saying. And so he goes, just ask like this, and basically he said, just ask WordPress themes, technology, blog. You know what I mean? Or blog, or WordPress blog technology guide. And I mean, it just opened up all my definitions for everything. It was like just something that, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You can't just say, how do I change a WordPress theme on a WordPress site? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
right.
don't know what you're talking about.
Right, right. Yeah, buzzwords, knowing the buzzwords is
is
half the
amazing.
battle, is half the battle.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Okay, there's several tools out there that you can install on your WordPress site that will help you kind of grade the theme you're looking at or testing. This one is called Theme Authenticity Checker, TAC. If you go TAC and you're searching in the plugins, just type TAC search and you'll see this guy, Theme Authenticity Checker. It checks for static links, suspicious code, encryption, and other odd files. Basically, it makes sure that the theme follows the WordPress rules as best they can and automate it. Obviously, it doesn't catch everything, but it catches a lot. One of the things you're going to see is static links. Static links can be bad, but not always. What it does is it shows you those static links so you can make a decision whether they're good or bad. Sometimes static link can be a URL buried in your page that goes off to some bad place, downloading, Trojans and drive-by type stuff. Other times it's just the link to the theme builder's website. That's it, at the very bottom of the page. So sometimes it's totally benign. But it will show you it so you can look at it and decide for yourself whether it's good or bad. In particular, this encrypted, anytime you see encrypted code, which looks like a bunch of gibberish, even more gibberish than it usually looks like, it's even hyper gibberish, that's bad. Because if it doesn't look like regular kind of words, you don't want it in your website, because that means some hacker is buried in there, so that just for that reason you can't tell what you got there.
Amen.
And it will look for that encrypted code and show you where it's at.
Is this including WordPress themes coming off the WordPress site? Of those 1,600 you're talking about?
Yeah,
So they can have it there with...
it's not as likely because they check it, but somebody could potentially slip it in. It is even more important if you're getting them out there in the commercial market. Go to a site that has free themes outside of WordPress.org. That's where you really, really need to use this. It's even more important.
With 1,600 themes, why do you need any?
That's a good question. But there are people out there making a living on doing other themes outside of WordPress.org. So it must be attractive to people.
Just, I can see supporting themes, selecting a theme that's commercial.
Right.
There's always the drive to be unique, though. Who wants to be a cookie cutter site?
Well, that's why you modify it. That's why you
Exactly.
But they do it for you, I guess. Yes.
Is this application, the authenticity checker, is it something that is an application within WordPress, or is it a separate?
Yeah, it's a plugin.
Okay.
It's a plugin that you go in your WordPress admin, you'll see plugins, and you go there and say add new plugin, search plugins, and type TAC, and then you'll see it on the list of plugins and you install it. And then when you click it, it goes through all the things that you have now installed and analyzes them and tells you if there's any problems. Whether you've got them running or not doesn't matter. You just have to download them into your WordPress. They don't have to be active. It goes through and checks your code. So you don't have to actually activate the theme. You can just download the theme into your WordPress and leave it deactivated, and then use this to check it. So it gives you a kind of a leg up onto whether things are in good shape.
By the way, encrypted sorts of files like John's talking about are frequently in the themes directory, even encrypted directories. So if you see stuff like that in your WordPress site, really check it out. We've seen it.
Okay, some other red flags that we've run across over the years, just author unknown or missing version history. We've seen situations like that. We've seen themes that are not cross-browser compatible. You open up an IE 7 or 8 or whatever, and they don't behave the same as they do on Firefox or whatever. So that's the cross-browser compatibility that you want to keep an eye out for. It does not validate on the W3C.org validator, so that's what that means, does not validate. So if you go to W3C.org/validate, then there's a validator there that you can validate your code. Uses tables instead of style sheets. Built on top of an old theme, limited access to CSS or poor documentation. And the hidden code is that encryption that we talked about earlier, and that's where that authenticity checker will help you. Now, this authenticity checker will check actually a lot of these things for you now. So this is just sort of a kind of list for you to see what's going on. Okay, now we're going to look for a theme. Okay, so we're gonna break from here for a minute and actually go through the process of looking for a theme for a couple of minutes. Okay, so I have this up over here, and I Googled best WordPress themes, and guess what? I got 71,500,000 results. Guess you'd have a hard time figuring that one out.
That narrowed it down, didn't
That
it?
narrowed it down, it really did. So you can see the problem. So, you know, basically you want to stick to the current year. So there's a lot of them there that were from 2006 and 2004, so you don't want to bother with those. So you want something that's a current, updated theme. And this one has free and premium themes, which means it has the free, it's talking about probably a lot of the themes on the WordPress.org. And then premium WordPress themes are commercial themes that you would pay for. You know, and it varies from $25 to $100 depending on all the goodies they add to it. This is a good place to start, but one of the things you want to look for is down here at the bottom. See where it says best WordPress themes for business, best blog themes, portfolio themes. That's where you want to narrow your search. That's why we talked about theme types earlier. So this is the way you can narrow your search. So if you know you want a portfolio theme, you would type best WordPress portfolio themes or best WordPress responsive themes. So that's why I gave you those kind of buzzwords to use in your search so that you can narrow it down quite a bit so that you're not looking at all 71 million hits on themes. So you're first going to narrow it down to current year. Then you're going to narrow it down to the type, like portfolio or e-commerce. Then from there, at least now you've got it down to a size that's not in the millions anymore. And then you want to so your commercial or free, you're going to have to decide. And then there's another site over here that's part of the WordPress.org called Theme Review. You should take a moment and read this, especially like the first page of it. It's Codex WordPress.org Theme Review. Theme_review. It's right here. Codex WordPress.org/theme review. This will be in the ebook too. So this is the rules that WordPress applies to all the themes that it allows in its WordPress theme directory. Okay. To be in the WordPress.org free directory, you have to pass all of this. And this thing is really long. You see how tiny this guy is? That tells you how long this page is. It's long, and so you don't want to read it all. It gets very geeky down at the bottom. But at the very beginning, this guidelines is a good handy summary for you to kind of get an idea of what a theme should do and how a good theme should behave. Okay, so this would be good for you to review. If you're a theme builder, this is your Bible. You need to follow this if you want WordPress to put that on their site. So one thing WordPress has is extremely good documentation. And there's a lot of links down here that'll help you understand a lot of this. Okay? And so we're not going to go into this specifically, but this is a good place for you to go. We also have, SonicSpider we have a WordPress Resource Center where we post stuff to help you with your WordPress site all the time. So it's wordpress.sonicwebtech.com. This is the site that got hacked, by the way.
We're going together.
That's fixed. And so we are constantly posting reviews of plugins and stuff here, and also instructions like the JW Player plugin. There's complete instructions on how to use that plugin for showing YouTube stuff on your website. So it's a very good plugin. This plugin also attempts to be HTML5 friendly. Whenever possible, whenever the browser supports it, it will use HTML5 automatically, so you don't have to think about it. So that's what a lot of the tools are doing now, is they're automatically trying to support HTML5 whenever possible. And that kind of a plugin is really good because you don't have to think about it. It will make the decision for you and present it whenever possible. Okay, so that's a good place for you to go. And as we have as we have clients doing various themes, then we will publish on there about the theme and review it. And then we're going to look at some recent favorites next. So we're going to look at a couple of themes that we've used recently for clients. This one's called Platform. A little fuzzy, isn't it? Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a drag and drop content management theme. We've had some good luck with this one. There's more details on this in the ebook. Gives a complete review of it. There's also a review of it on the Resource Center of that one. End Degree, it's kind of another good theme that follows a lot of the rules that we talk about. Graphene, if you like a darker theme. And this one is good for people who really like dark. I'm not a dark fan myself. I like a lighter theme. Weaver is one of our favorites. If we were to pick a theme that would be a good start for any website as far as the basic architecture, it would be Weaver.
Is that the default thing?
An offshoot of this one is the default theme. 2010 and 2011 were actually the then current versions of the Weaver theme. So he's gone off and done more fancy stuff with it. But this theme, why we like this theme as web developers, is has enough goodies for you, the client, to make some changes, but it doesn't get in the way of doing technical stuff. So it stays out of the way of doing a lot of the technical things. We never run into a problem with the theme getting in our way when we want to make changes and do things. So it's kind of it's got its foot in both worlds. It's both got a lot of good features for the end user, and it's got a lot of good features for the developer.
When you say technical, are you talking about editing code?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yes,
you
yes.
actually go in and, and all files are editable in WordPress, is that correct?
Technically, yes.
You can go
With
in
some
and
things,
Weaver and.
yeah, with some
package.
things you don't want to do that, and we're going to get into that. This one, the reason we like it, and I'd say probably 50–60% of the WordPress sites we do, we start with this theme. Now, of course, you wouldn't know that it's this theme when we get through with it. Matter of fact, the WordPress Resource Center is a Weaver theme. So this site right here, that's Weaver. Okay. You can kind of see the structure, but we could have changed it even more. We have some sites that are totally different. You never know it was a Weaver. So you can do a lot of things with it, which is why we like it. Okay, now put your technical hats on. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes doing techie stuff, okay? See, we're going to hit you with that the whole time, but now we're going to dive in just a little bit. Get your toes wet. Okay, the main theme folder, if you're looking for your themes, is wherever the root of your website is. There's a WP content /themes, and then the name of your theme. So that's where you'll find the actual theme on your server's hard drive. And there'll be every theme you have installed will be sitting there. That doesn't mean you have them active, but it will be sitting there. Okay? Okay, theme components. You have replacement template files that replace the core template files. So the replacement template. Custom template files. These are files not found in the normal WordPress download. Okay? Images and language files will be in that directory. And custom style sheets. So these are the pieces that are going to be in this directory. Okay? And when you make the theme active, that act of making it active tells the WordPress processor where to go to grab all its pieces. So it will go to the theme directory and say, do you have this file? Oh, you don't? Well, then I'll load the default. Do you have this file? Oh, you do? Okay, I'll load that one. So it always goes to the theme directory first to look for that file that it's supposed to load for the template. And if it doesn't, it goes back and uses the default. So the theme builder doesn't have to replace all of the default files. You can pick and choose. Yes.
Okay, since the content and the images are all separate from the theme, could you change the theme on seasonal, like every 3 months you can just change the theme?
Absolutely.
And not have to worry about changing your content?
Absolutely.
And that's easy to do?
Yeah, assuming, okay, there's some caveats, okay? There's always caveats, right?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, you may be relying on something in that theme that is unique to that theme, like a sidebar thing. That theme X over here doesn't have. So when you switch, boom, it's gone. That could happen. But that's because of the theme. Now, that doesn't mean it's out of the database. If you switch back to the theme, it would reappear.
But if you're new, you won't get it back. If you've been doing it for 20 years, you might get it back, but if you're under a year, you ain't getting it back.
So what you have to
Start
do,
over.
so what you have to do is when you're switching themes, is you have to make sure they have the same basic components. They have the same widgets. You might have to tweak them a little, but once you, let's say for example, you rotated between 4 themes all year long. Yes, you could tweak each of those themes so they have the same components, so that all you had to do is rotate through them. And as long as you didn't alter anything else, you could flip through each theme and it would change the look and everything would be there. But you'd have to really go through each theme and make sure they had the same components. And you'd have to make sure the theme supported the same components. So, in theory, yes, but there are some minor details that you'd have to be careful of.
Simply recite that easily.
Okay, let's look at what those pieces are that you got to watch out for if you want to. We have a header. There's a header PHP, which may be in the theme directory or not. You have the content, which is called the loop, that loops through all of your posts and blog posts and things like that, or the page, if you did a page instead of the blog type post. Then you have your sidebar PHP, which does the sidebar or double sidebars or split sidebars or whatever you want to do, 3 sidebars. And then you have your footer, get footer. And each one of those goes off and looks in the theme directory. Do you have the files I want? Oh, no. Then it goes back to the default directory and goes boom. And then the next time it goes over to the theme directory and goes, oh, do you have that? Oh, you do? Okay, I'll show that one for you. So it does all that work for you, of going to the theme directory and looking first. If not, go back to the core directory and load the core. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Regarding your previous screen, is there a difference between having a different theme and having the same theme with a different content? In other words, can you have 4 of the same theme, each one with a different content?
4 different websites.
Oh, 4 different websites? Oh yeah, but they would have to be separate directories.
And not for the same website?
No. You'd have to, each one would have to be a separate hosted system.
It's a lot of information right there.
Because
Way
it's
too
Could be
different
subdirectories,
content.
right?
For
You-
one website.
You in theory could set up a website, get it all set up, then do a backup of it, move it over to another hosting folder, put it down, point it to an empty database, and start up with that one again. It will look exactly like the other one, only you build new content for it. Then you can take a copy of that, put it over here with an empty database, and do that again. You could do that over and over again.
Well, I'm thinking,
But the database would be empty each time, on a separate host. Each one have a separate URL on a separate hosting folder, which you pay a separate hosting fee,
I
unless
can
you have your own
clarify
server.
that.
Yes.
You can, if your host allows you to build your database, you can create multiple databases. Okay, so you can rename the databases differently, so when you create the content for one site, it goes to this, connects to this one. So when you install WordPress, then you can install it again to a different directory.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that's what I said.
Subdirectories. So you're still on one host, you still have one plan, but you end up with multiple directories that are WordPress installs.
But then your URL would have to go to each directory.
Yes, you'll have.
But I'm talking about a default URL. I thought he was talking about default URL.
Yeah.
mydomain.com, boom, would have to be a
It's
separate
getting a
host.
little more technical.
He would have to have mydomain.com/directory. mydomain.com/directory.
Number two.
Yeah. But that wouldn't work very good with your SEO.
So your headers, you could change your headers. It depends on what his needs are.
Yeah, he would have trouble with his SEO, because the SEO would look at the root directory first. Yes?
Yeah, WordPress multi-user
Yes. And you
essentially does that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want that, find a developer, ask them about WPMU.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into that.
I realize, but rather than try the different directories and all this, it's got a built-in solution.
The basis for my question was, this gentleman mentions here real estate and vacation rental. So I was just thinking, say during the summertime, he wants to present some properties as summer vacation rentals. Then, starting in September, he wants his website to look a little different, present basically the same properties in a different
You
light.
just change the theme then.
You have to change the theme.
Then you would have, that's why he asked the question about changing the theme. That's why he asked that question that way.
Not the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, the website stays the same.
Yeah,
It's
the
just the
website,
theme.
it was the reverse of what you were saying. You were saying,
Content remains
keep the
the
theme the same and change the content. That's what you were saying.
Right.
He was saying, keep the content, change the theme.
Right.
Those are two different. You
Change the outline,
Yeah.
keep the content.
The minute you have to change the data, then you have to have a separate database.
I see.
And that's what
It's a lot of work.
that's what the multi-user WordPress version does. It changes the database dynamic as you come in as a different user. Okay, and it plays games with what's called the htaccess file. In other words, when a person comes in, it alters the rerouting of the code to a different link to the website. So that's kind of the game it plays. So that has to be done by somebody who knows how to write htaccess files for you. Which I believe the multi-version kind of does that for you, which is kind of good, because they're hard to read. Okay, here's a picture. So if you didn't get the words, here's the picture. Okay, so here's your index. You're always kind of looking at your index. That's, unless you're looking at pages, you're always kind of looking at the index. That's why the top oftentimes is index. There's actually several different types of core pages. Index is one, page is another, but they all have the same kind of guts. In other words, they have a header sidebar, which can have various pieces in it, and then they have the footer. And when this page runs, it goes out and grabs those templates. So that's the picture of what's going on. Okay, core versus theme templates. Themes work by replacing core templates. That's kind of what I said at the beginning. Themes add functions and features by calling custom templates, templates that aren't in the core, to add new enhancements. And themes change design by replacing core style sheets as well. So you're replacing style sheets and you're replacing bits and pieces, and it does that dynamically for you. So that's the job of the theme, to automatically trigger those changes. Okay, style sheet is where you can do the most things to a theme without touching any really code, where you're just sort of changing the surface, the skin. So that's your style sheet. The default style sheet's called style.css. That's the name of it. The template could add other style sheets that override it. Now, a style sheet is, the CSS means cascading style sheet. The key word there is cascading, which means you can take one style sheet and load another one right after it, and it will override everything on the one before. And then you could load another style sheet after that one, and it will override everything before. So what you can do is, and what everybody does, is they let the default style sheet load first, then they load theirs after, and it overrides things. So that's the magic of cascading style sheets, is you can override what was there previously by putting it afterwards. So that's what templates do. They load style sheets in order. So if you're in there looking at style sheets, you want to look at the last style sheet loaded. And if you're playing with style sheets and you discover nothing happens when you make the change, that's because you're probably working on the style sheet too high in the stack, and it's getting overridden.
So style sheets refers to like the font type and size and positioning,
Positioning and
indenting and
and called Z layer, whether it's floating over the top or over here, and how much margin it has, and padding, and background colors, and all that.
And you want that to be dynamic because everyone's just got a different size screen that they're looking at your page.
You would like it to be as dynamic as possible, but also you want to be able to change it if you want. Customize. So that's where the customization comes in. That's where you would take each of your 4 themes and tweak them slightly as you rotate through them as the year goes by. You would add a little, I got a nice theme, but this would be perfect if I just add a little jingle bells over here. Then it would be my Christmas theme, see? So you could take themes and tweak them that way. Okay, here is the thing that you can't forget. You cannot forget this, or you will be in a world of hurt. Okay, that's why it's all by itself. Do not alter the core WordPress templates or style sheets. Can't say that so many times.
You could have told me that like 4 months ago.
I'm sorry.
That's my problem.
Do not touch the core pages or style sheets. Because then you hit the upgrade button and you blow it all away. And you gotta upgrade or somebody's gonna hack your site. So you're stuck. You gotta upgrade. So you gotta follow these rules.
Alright, so quick question. If that's my problem, how do I erase it and start from scratch again?
Upgrade. It'll wipe it all out.
Oh, sweet, thanks.
Upgrade to the latest version. It will nuke all your changes
Beautiful.
and
Thank
put you right back where you started from.
you. There we go.
Which, in your case, was a good thing.
Yes.
In other cases,
So
was
where
a
are
bad
these
thing.
files located?
Where are these files located? The core files are located in the root directory and the WP admin and the root of WP content and the root of,
So just stay within the themes directory.
yeah. Yeah. Do not go outside the themes directory. Whatever you do, you need to be in that. That's why I showed you that little directory structure. Themes, anything under themes you can tinker with. Anything outside of that themes directory, do not touch.
So basically you're saying, common sense, you know, just you upgrade, if you upgrade WordPress, as long as you don't mess with the core, nothing's gonna happen. Once you start going outside of that and putting other themes and stuff in there, that's when everything gets lost.
Because your upgrade, what your upgrade's gonna do is replace all the core pages.
Sure.
Boom, blow them all away.
Not the content.
Not the content,
Okay.
and not the themes directory. Won't touch the themes directory.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, style sheet. It's the safest way to alter a theme as long as you stay away from the core style sheet. WordPress provides an editor of theme files. There's an actual editor. We can go look at it if we have time, which we're running out of time. Not all themes allow access to the style sheet. That's where you run into a problem with some style sheets, some themes. They'll actually hide the style sheet so you can't see it, which means you wonder, how do I change this? And you can't. Okay, so that's a problem. Some style sheets do that. They give you a little tool to kind of alter your fonts and stuff, and they don't let you do anything else.
When you add plugins into your WordPress site, once you update it, does it take the plugins?
That's another directory that's not touched by the core, the plugins directory. Not all themes are designed to be altered by style sheets, so that's one of the things you need to know. That may not be a problem for you. If you're totally happy with the theme and it does what you want, who cares? No harm, no foul, right? But if you ever want to alter it, then you need to know that this could be a problem. And then, of course, if you do anything outside of this, it can cause problems when you upgrade. Okay? Also, if you decide to upgrade your theme, if you've altered your theme, you'll blow away your alterations to your theme. So if you're doing a commercial theme, if you're buying a theme that you want to be upgraded because you bought support, then you be careful about tweaking it. You need to find out from them what you can tweak before you tweak it.
So with your Weaver thing, as long as you have your content in there, and say you change like a picture or something, that's not going to take that away?
Right.
Or it will?
No. Okay, let's look at a few things. Over on the side, this is your appearance menu. Okay, this is themes, widgets, menus. So your theme will have a different set of pieces here. Each theme will have a different set of things here. This is the old Weaver, way back, I think it was 2010 or something. It had menus, it had Weaver theme options. It had background, header, and editor. This guy, see this guy right here, will be at the bottom of most every theme. That's the guy where you can actually go in and customize stuff. And we have to be careful.
So don't touch that.
Well, you can, but just be careful, okay? This is what you see when you go to the editor, okay? This is the stuff here that you can edit. You can scroll this down, and it will save it for you. These are the templates that are available to you, right here. See, there's footer PHP, header PHP. You can edit these. These are your theme things. Again, be careful. If you want to upgrade your theme, this could be nuked. If you're going to customize the theme and you're going to take full responsibility for it, then have at it. Edit anything you want. You know? Yes?
Is there a search? Because I couldn't find a way to search code.
No. It's a very basic editor. You can upload it onto your desktop, your theme, and play with it there in a PHP editor. So, but no, not here. It's a very, very basic editor. So this is what the editor looks like, and this is available for all themes. And it has a list of the theme templates here, a long list that goes way down. And various style sheets. These are style sheets that I took from various themes. You can see 2010 style sheet, RS style sheet, style CSS, visual editor, runtime library style sheet. That's what RTL means. Visual editor style sheet. So, and then this one over here has the style as the. Notice this is a cascading. This is how it's presenting them. So these up here are the first, second. This is the third, fourth. This is how they get loaded. You have a print style sheet so you can change how the printing occurs. So this is if you wanted to edit the style sheets for that particular theme. You're going to see different lists is my point. Don't expect to see the same list. Each style sheet will have a different list. Some of them will be very similar. Most all of them will show this guy, which is your core style sheet. Yes?
So if you're using something like Thesis and you're wanting to build a style on top of that, it's going to be like a child.
You should do it that way, yeah. It would be the safest.
Okay.
Right. These are the common style sheets that you will see on most themes, just so that you understand. Style CSS is the default main style sheet for that theme. Okay? There is a style CSS for the core as well, but you'll never see that unless you go into your server and edit it separately, so don't worry about it. You can't do that unless you go cheap. Okay? The one you'll be presented is the theme style sheet, the theme CSS. Okay? Then there's the right to left style sheet that handles Chinese, like Chinese is left to right, right to left. It handles different languages, okay? Editor style sheet, this is the one that controls how the editor handles your style sheet, but you probably would never touch that. Print style sheet you might play with to make your website print. If you have something you want people to print, you might tweak that a little bit so it prints a little better. Maybe hide some things that you don't want to show up. IE Fix, well, handles Internet Explorer quirks. If you discover as you're tweaking around that on Internet Explorer 8 it kind of misbehaves, well, you would go to this style sheet and make your adjustments. So this is your tweaker. Boy, if you do that, good luck. You've just walked into hell, so to speak. There is a website called quirksmode.com or .org. I never remember which it is, but it's called QuirksMode, where he explains all the different quirks and all the versions of Internet Explorer. So if you ever do wander into IE quirks, that's the place to go. Everything you want to know about quirks of Internet Explorer is there. Which versions and what it does. Okay, some tips. Make sure the style sheet you edit is the latest style sheet called by the template. That's where you look at the list that we showed you. Use Firebug on the Fox, which you can highlight your mouse over. Let me show you how that works. It's kind of cool.
Firebug on the Fox, what do you mean?
Firefox, the browser.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So is that the smartest browser to run with?
It's the one I would develop with. So up here in the corner, I have Firefox active over here in the corner. I activate it. I click, I zoom this up so we can see it. I click the little inspector on the left, and I scroll over, and do you see what it does? It highlights it, and it shows me what styles are being active in that blue box. So it tells you the line number, isn't that cool? It tells you the line number and the order in which they're being presented.
So basically, if you started to teach this class on the Googles, you know, on the, not rather than Firefox or Google, it would be totally different.
No, it's just that this is a plugin that helps you see where I highlighted this header, and it showed me the header style sheet and the height and the auto and all of the things that I needed to edit.
It just seems like that whenever I'm researching something, that I can research something different when I'm on Google than when I can when I'm on MSN or when I'm on Bing.
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with
I
that.
know, it's weird how somebody shows me one way, but it's in Firefox, and then when I'm having troubles when I'm on Internet Explorer, you know what I mean?
Right, but
It's
Internet
just so
Explorer
different.
doesn't have these tools.
Exactly, I'm figuring that out.
Well, yeah, they're eventually having, I think Internet Explorer 10 or something does have developer tools, or 8 or are starting to have developer tools, but this has been with Firefox for a long time. Safari has some developer tools also, but basically I'm just trying to show you how you can figure out, when you're looking at it, you're trying to
That
say,
was way off the point, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's fine. You're trying to figure out, okay,
My problems.
I want to know where, you know, this thing gets styled over here. This. See, and it tells me right here. Now, a little trick. If you see the word element.style, that means it was dynamically styled from the database. You'll never find that in the style sheet. So you'll never find this in the style sheet. This is the first style sheet. See? No, actually, no, that's not. This is the first style sheet. This is also being dynamically loaded. So these two are being dynamically loaded by the theme. The theme is dynamically putting these in line. And this is the first one that is actually being called after that. You can't overwrite it, though, by changing here, because it's in the stack. Okay? But so if you see the word element, or you see your domain, then you know it's being dynamically loaded, and you'll never find it. Don't even try. Yes.
When you say dynamically loaded,
The
does
theme-
that mean that the
theme is in
content
yeah.
becomes from something like
It's in a
Word
database. It's in a database.
in a database? Well, I tried to modify in, I don't think it was WordPress, I tried to modify the text. And the editor within the web page, or WordPress, or whatever it was, or the template, did not function with the sophistication of
No, it's not going to,
Word.
because you have a different style sheet for your editor than you have for your actual site. They're two different style sheets. That's
Well,
why. You noticed earlier in my list, I had an editor style sheet. That's where you would want those. If you wanted that to work, you would have to make those two style sheets the same. So that what you see in your editor, a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. Well, the editor in WordPress is not WYSIWYG by default.
So am I in any kind of danger by choosing that editor?
No, you just have to test it. Make your change, go look at your website and see what happened. What I do is I have it up in two browser windows. I edit over here and I watch it over here.
Do you edit within WordPress, or do
Very
you
rarely.
edit in some, like Word or something?
Very rarely do I edit in WordPress. Sometimes if I really have to do something quick, I'll go in there. Generally, I have the files in my editor system, and I do it there because it helps me.
And take the whole document, put it in WordPress?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I have to do a lot of work, that's the way I'll do it. And also another thing about Firefox is you can edit the styles here and see what happens dynamically. So you can test them. So it's kind of cool. Okay. Understand template containers, we looked at that. And the Firebug is a good tool. So if you really want to get into styles, you probably should get Firefox and install Firebug, and it will help you tremendously. It'll show you where you're trying to do things and what line in the style sheet to add. It's a huge help. You're not poking in the dark. It tells you exactly where to go.
There are a lot of handy developer tools in
Yeah.
Firefox.
Okay, that's as deep as we're going to get in the geeky world.
That's great.
I hope that didn't blow your mind too much, but there's a lot more in the ebook that goes even deeper. And so this is what we tried to do today. We talked about what themes are, we looked at how many themes there are, and we talked about some strategies for finding themes and narrowing the search. We talked about what could go wrong with your theme and the things that you should avoid doing. We talked about how themes work, sort of the basic architecture, and we talked about how you could do some tweaks, just sort of at a very basic level. And of course, I think you can see how much work's involved. That sort of came out in the whole presentation. So that's it for today. I'm going to be out next week. I'm having surgery on my knee. So I won't have the ebook ready for it till the week after, so don't look for it till the week after next. Because you don't want me doing anything in a drug state stupor that I'm going to be in starting tomorrow.
Might see some very strange styles otherwise.
So in 2 weeks, you'll have another meeting, and what's the content for that?
Yeah, and next month, we're going to have the plugins. We're going to do understanding plugins. We're going to go through all kinds of plugins, talk about the plugins you should have for administrative work, and the plugins you might want to do for videos and galleries. And
Great.
we're going to go through plugins. Everything plugin. Okay? Okay, thank you very much for coming, and I hope I helped you.
John.
Thanks, John.